Welcome back to the City Current Radio Show. I'm your host, Jeremy Park. We're honored to be with our next guest, Adam Germek. He's the president and CEO for Special Olympics Tennessee. How are you doing, Adam?
Doing great. Thank you, Jeremy.
So let's dive in. Special Olympics Tennessee, so much good. Give us a little bit, though, for a starting point, some of the history for the organization, and then we'll dive into all the good you do.
Sure, absolutely. So organization started over 50 years ago by Eunice Kennedy Shriver. 1968, first games in Chicago at Soldier Field, and really has spawned a movement for our athletes all over the country and the world. So now fast forward to today, and we're in 190 countries, over 6 million athletes. Amazing, amazing movement for inclusion and for individuals with intellectual disabilities.
Talk about the work here in Tennessee.
Sure. We have over 17,000 athletes in Tennessee. Over 18 sports that we host annually. We host about 250 events, and that's from local events, regional events, and state events. And our athletes compete kind of in their local communities, and then they move on to those state games. And then they have the opportunity to also compete in events across the country. We have a USA Games taking place every 4 years. So we have athletes, about 140 athletes going down to Orlando to compete against athletes all over the country. And then there's also World Games in winter and summer games. So we have a couple of athletes going to Russia next year as well to compete in winter sports.
Give us an idea of kind of how the magic works in terms of practices and then obviously the competitions. And then so kind of the day-to-day operations. Talk about how the magic works.
Absolutely. Well, the magic is volunteers. So we are a very lean and mean organization. We only have 14 staff members for the entire state. So that means we need about 6,000 volunteers to run the machine and really get their hands dirty and meet our athletes where they are in their local communities. So we have 36 area directors that volunteer their time to kind of lead that charge. And they have management teams within the local communities. And then they have huge volunteer forces at colleges, universities, high schools, elementary schools, middle schools, community centers that all come out, volunteer their time for our athletes to make sure that they have the opportunity to participate in those local communities.
Talk about some of the different sports between the basketball and all the different things that they have a chance to compete in.
Sure. So, a lot of sports we host each year. So there's individual sports like tennis, bocce. We also have kind of the doubles opportunity there as well. But we have your traditional team sports like flag football, basketball, volleyball, soccer. And then most people, we are in Tennessee, but most people don't think of those winter sports. So we do have 3 winter sports. We have skiing, ice skating, and snowboarding. So those winter games are hosted over at Gatlinburg. So we have a wide range of sports. Our athletes are all ages, all abilities. So they start at 2 and they never age out. So we have, kind of those high impact sports like a basketball where you may see an alley-oop dunk. And then we have some lower impact sports like bowling and bocce. So something for everybody.
And when you look at their ability to build confidence, build teamwork and camaraderie, talk about some of those things that you start to see in terms of the growth and the development of the athletes above and beyond the field of play, but how that carries over into their life.
Absolutely. I mean, Special Olympics is not just all about sports. It's about building those relationships and really changing a community. So, a lot of parents we talk to, a lot of the athletes, they'll say, listen, I didn't have a big friend group before Special Olympics, and then I met my teammates, and those are my best friends in the world. So we love seeing that, developing. And, another big movement for Special Olympics is something called unified sports. And that's a traditional student within a school setting partnering with a Special Olympics athlete and participating in sports together. So you'd have, a basketball team of 10, 5 are students, traditionally developing, and the other 5 may have an intellectual disability. They're on the same court playing against other unified teams, and it's unbelievable to see the friendships that happen, the change within that community and the school. and then to see that trickle out into everyday life, whether it's employment, whether it's leadership opportunities. It's really great to see that. And friendships, that peer group is so important in development. And that's one thing we're really excited to see come from Special Olympics.
Carry that forward, tie it to the Unified Champion Schools. So carry that forward.
Sure. So about 4 years ago, we started a program. We received grant funding from the Department of Special Education. And basically it's an opportunity to go into schools and try to create 100% inclusive environments. And there's 3 components of our Unified Champion Schools. It's student leadership. It's creating that inclusive all school opportunity. So think of an assembly that spreads the word of inclusion, whether that's anti-bullying campaigns, whether that's spread the word to end the word campaigns, just for having all students involved in something within the school. And then the third component is sports. So you merge all 3 of those together and just creates great future leaders within that school environment. And it creates that transition from elementary to middle to high school. You know, we talked about friendships. It gives all students the opportunity to participate. And, you know, most people look at the program and say, that's great for those Special Olympics athletes. We hear the same response from the partners, which we call unified partners, that are participating. You know, it's changed people's lives there. It's, you know, that individual that may have tried out for the basketball team and didn't make it, gives them an opportunity to play on a basketball team and compete with fellow students. It's really an unbelievable thing that's been created. We have 36 schools currently signed up, but we want to see every school in Tennessee becoming Unified Champion schools to be more inclusive.
How does that work in terms of if someone says, hey, I'm hearing this, I want my school to be involved? How does that process work?
Sure. They just reach out to us and they'll sign a contract, 3-year commitment. We actually will hand them some funding to create this club and to give them an opportunity to utilize those funds and how they see fit, whether it's, you know, opportunities for leadership, whether it's uniforms for a team that they've created. And then it also allows them to participate in the network of schools that are already part of Unified Champion Schools. So our goal is when the traditional basketball team goes and plays, that high school team goes and plays a rival, their unified teams go and play, and they're traveling on the same bus as those teams. They're getting the same letter, you know, the letter from participating in the sport. And we've been thankful to have that partnership that we created a few years back with TSSAA to allow that to happen, to actually crown some of these sports as champions for their schools.
What's been a story or something that sticks out to you in terms of an athlete and their growth and development? So give me a success story that stands out on your end.
Absolutely. Well, I could think of 100, but you know, one pops to mind specifically. It's a young man, and you know, he called over to our office a couple of weeks ago just to share, you know, his thanks for Special Olympics. But he had a really, really hard childhood. His mother and father are no longer involved in his life. Grandparents were bringing him up. He was being bullied in middle school, making that transition to high school. And, you know, he started, it's actually one of our Unified Champion schools, and got associated with that and really took a leadership role there. From there, he became an active member on the campus in the school. So he was in the video department. He was, you know, student leadership. And we just received word that now he's part of a college program at Lipscomb University. So, you know, I know he'll be a future leader, but, you know, when you hear a story from his mouth, it's just unbelievable to see him transform. He's also a preacher. You know, so he really came out of his shell where he said, I was so introverted. I never talked to anyone. I was being teased. And now I'm a leader in my school, and his confidence just grew each year he participated in Special Olympics.
How has that, seeing that sort of growth and development, how has that changed you in terms of the work you do and the fuel, but for the fire to be able to do more and get more people involved. How has this work changed you?
Well, it changes everyone that's associated with Special Olympics every day. I mean, it's very rare you see unfiltered joy. It's very rare that you see, just good hearts, speaking their mind and being leaders and really seeing the growth of individuals that quickly. And for me, it's just, it helps every day waking up and saying, hey, I am so thankful and blessed to be part of this, to have that impact, a small impact that can really transform that life. But knowing that this is going to be somebody that's going to change so many people's lives, and what he's doing and all our athletes do in the community.
The other ripple effects, so you got it for the athlete, their growth and development, the confidence, everything that you articulate on that side. You also, as you mentioned, for the volunteers to plug in, and it breaks all the stereotypes and it builds bonds and relationships. This also is powerful for the parents. Talk about kind of that aspect of seeing their children, in many cases, who aren't given opportunities. And now the fact that they have opportunities to watch them have the unfiltered joy and blossom and smile. What does it mean for the parents?
It means so much. And we've heard, endless stories of, I grew, as parents, they grew up playing sports and they had a dream of, what their son or daughter may participate in, and those opportunities weren't there for them. So when they have that opportunity, they really saw that vision and that love come through Special Olympics, but it also gave them an opportunity to be around other parents that have experienced the same journey that they have. And it's amazing. We had an athlete that traveled to our last USA Games, and it was the first time he had ever left his community. So, it gave those parents that respite, and they felt really excited that that this individual could have the opportunity to be independent, to go on a trip outside of our state to Seattle to participate. And it's just amazing to hear, how that changed that individual's life and that family's life, to see, hey, this opportunity was presented that would never have been there if they weren't participating in Special Olympics.
So I know that volunteerism is important, contributions financially to support your efforts, but talk about the ways that the community can help.
Absolutely. So as I mentioned, 6,000 plus volunteers a year. So if anyone's interested in getting involved in Special Olympics, we have pretty much any volunteer opportunity you could ever imagine. We do need help within the office here. We need help on every one of those 250 events in the local community, the state events. We need folks, timers, finish line, holding the finish line for athletes, putting medals on. We need coaches. We really, as we come out of COVID, we're really trying to identify some new coaches that could come and help teach our next generation of Special Olympics athletes. And then we always need, board members, and we also have a young professionals board. So leadership opportunities in the organization or within that local area management team.
Give a little bit on how COVID has impacted your efforts and just kind of where you are, coming out of COVID. I mean, I know we're still in the pandemic, but, as you start to regain some sense of normalcy, talk about the impact of the pandemic.
Sure. Yeah. Obviously, the impact's been tremendous. Population we serve, it varies as far as medical, high risk, some of the genetic disorders individuals have. My daughter, for example, is a Special Olympics athlete. And, she has some really, really, critical opportunities to if she had if she was to contract COVID, could have some really negative impacts from that. So we had to be a little safer as far as our guidance. So we created a return to activity committee to make sure that we were protecting our athletes. We have medical professionals on that committee. So we did shut down for some time. We were back to, getting back to participating. It's somewhat limited. Right now, we can't be doing contact sports, unfortunately. And, mask requirements, safety screens, all those things, social distancing. So it's been really challenging there, but we also have had to pivot a lot and move to, just like we are right now, to Zoom programming and providing our mission through different options. And, you know, we've seen some great things. We've done a lot of challenges via Zoom. We've had some professional athletes come on and celebrities run some Zoom challenges for us and do some trainings. We've had coaches that have jumped on to keep up with their athletes just to make sure that their social emotional wellness is up and they're still participating at home. So it's been a challenge, but we've found new ways to really reach our athletes.
And that's the key, is finding ways, creative ways to make sure that you're still delivering the mission and still engaging everyone. And, you know, hopefully as things get back to more of a normal, then being able to open back up and get more participation on the coaches and obviously the athlete side to be able to do what needs to be done to lift our community. So absolutely love it. Wrap up on your end with website, social media. Where do we go to learn more?
Sure. www.specialolympics.tn.org is our website. It actually has all of our social media handles there. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We have a YouTube channel. At SO Tennessee is our Facebook page. You know, feel free to reach out to our office. We'd love to see you here if you want to stop by, or if you want to drop us a note via email, or just visit our site for upcoming events. We do have a volunteer link. So if you sign up as a volunteer, we'll put you on a newsletter and send you information as things come up.
Well, Adam, greatly appreciate all you and your amazing team do. Thank you for coming on the show.
Such a pleasure, an honor to be on. Jeremy, thank you so much.